So this is a preset. Can you hear me just fine or no? How's the volume? Check. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you guys how to take the assessment. Sorry about the audio quality. At least I got the video part working. I think Hassan's saying volume is okay right now. If you can hear me, that's great. If not, I'll just kind of use my cursor here and show you where the pre-assessment is. And I'll still try to get my presentation going because, there's some good content, I think, especially if you live in the Long Beach area and you're interested in learning a little bit about health and community service. So I'll go through my presentation, but there's also a copy of the PDF file, which is probably what I would do in case you got to rush and go somewhere. If not, appreciate you guys sitting in. But here's the list of stuff here. So pre-assessment, there's that link. The post-assessment link is here. There's a quiz, which is optional. And the PDF link is right here. Can you guys type in the live chat if you got all of those? If you heard me this one. Okay, great. Looks like the pre-assessment is there. About the question of what the pre-assessment is about, sort of just, well, it's kind of shows that I could create a content, an assessment form. So that's part of it. That's part of my assignment. But the questions in the pre-assessment, it relates to conversation about health and community support. So it gives you an idea of how you felt before the presentation and then afterwards, after you learn about the content we're going to be talking about today. So looks like we're getting the ball rolling here. Let me just see who else is here and we'll get started. Oh, all right. We got a few people now. Thanks for staying with us. If you missed the part about the pre-assessment and post-assessment, the links are here in the descriptions below, and then we can get started. Is that okay with everybody? Did I answer the question about what the pre-assessment and post-assessment is for? It's basically just using Google Quiz and Google Forms, creating a pre-assessment set of questions, and then implementing it. and then after the presentation, you can learn a little bit about how ready you are as far as uh, learning about health and stuff. I'll probably just go through these quickly because we lost a lot of time. That's not your fault; it's my fault. I think I did there's something with audio and the video setting, but if you can hear me just fine. Okay, we got thumbs up. Here we go. Welcome to my presentation. This is a class assignment that I was working on for a couple of weeks. I resorted to recording and streaming on YouTube because obviously we are going through some crazy crisis in the community. So the option here is to record and stream my presentation instead of going to a gathering, which is understandable. I hope everybody's doing well as far as staying safe and healthy. So the topic really has a lot to do with what we're going to be talking about today and what's going on in our community. So I'll move forward here. This is a table of contents. You'll see this in the PDF copy. This is my introduction. I'm a part-time student, and so this is part of my class assignment, and the class is about developing content and instructions, taking a topic and building a presentation about that topic. I'm also a therapist, and a few of you may know that. In fact, I think we have a couple of coworkers here. So I want to give shout outs to them later. So this is some of my interests, my hobbies, and the reason why I picked Long Beach is because Long Beach is a really interesting city to me. It's a very diverse, and throughout the years that I lived near Long Beach, I've seen a lot of changes that happen as far as the community and how things were, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, up to now, where you have a lot of awareness in terms of health in the community. So that's the reason why I picked Long Beach. I want to give a quick shout out to Long Beach Time Exchange. This is an organization in Long Beach that focus on time bartering. So how it works is that you establish connection and network with a group of people, and the time that you put into the organization gives you credit to use. That way you can spend that on somebody else's course, and so it's a really neat way to take classes. In fact, I was introduced to Long Beach Time Exchange by Erica at the VA, who I work with. I also want to give a shout out to Long Beach Refuge. If you're not aware, Long Beach Refuge is it's a nonprofit group in Long Beach that help lots of variation of people, homeless people. They also provide spiritual support. So my friend Ben introduced me to Long Beach Refuge. So this project is sort of a platform for me to develop some content. Hopefully I can link up with these groups here in Long Beach. And I think the idea was to reach out to the community when we can't because of some kind of crisis, or later on if you want to expand and scale a platform. So this is what the assignment was about. We are live. Um, I am recording, but I'm not going to publicize this. Um, this is going to stay as educational format, and I will not give it out to the public. So this is for a class, so we do have some kind of structure, and it may be too formal, but I'll try to be entertaining, so it's not that boring for you guys. There is a pre-assessment and post-assessment that I mentioned earlier, which you can find down in the description, and it's linked to Google Quiz, and there's another website there that I used, but it's intended to create these kind of content. The proceeds I'm accumulating and I'm accruing, I will donate to any member in Long Beach Time Exchange. So, this is not monetized. PDF copy, resources provided at the end, and you can ask me any questions. I will check the live chat later for any questions. Also, we have time at the end to ask any questions. As far as the presentation goals, I'd like to highlight the use of media content, such as YouTube for educational content, and not just entertaining. I know it's a combination of many things that you can find on YouTube, but I think the goal today is to show that using YouTube for content is very easy. I want to give credit to Long Beach Community Organization because it's not very common that we hear about them. I want to talk about learning theories, behavior, health, promotion, community of Long Beach, and also talk about virtual community. That virtual community is going to be part of our society, and there used to be a stigma about it, but we'll soon learn that it's part of our society, and that it's a very important tool actually to reach out to the community without indirectly reaching out in person. So my target audience are learners and facilitators. So if you find yourself as a learner or a facilitator, hopefully you can find some information in this presentation. And anybody from Long Beach, anyone in instructor role, a mentor, or an advocate for your community, hopefully this presentation will be for you. These are my learning objectives. Let me just check the chat. Sorry, it's taking pause, everyone. So these are my objectives here. We'll talk about learning and behavior. We'll try to define them the best we can. We'll talk about health theories and perspectives. We'll discuss applications, examples, and we'll talk about community and virtual community. And we'll examine Long Beach as a case to apply concepts. So we have three major theories that fields in health lean to. There's behaviorism, constructivism, and cognitism. There's obviously a lot of other theories. There's humanism. There's other ones. But these are the three that we'll focus on because they have components of ecology and environment that's really important for health promotion. So first, we'll talk about behaviorist theory. This has a very rich history. It's a theory that we used to refer to as a blank slate. And of course, it evolved to other fields of science that we could consider historical. But the behaviorist theory, the premise was that we were born with the structure, and learning occurs by exposure. and it happens in a very automatic way. So, for example, you see here on the list, you have Steven Pinker. He talks about how the brain is programmed to pick up language spontaneously just at the presence of the stimulus. So that study and that field sort of evolved from earlier studies of when observation was taking place, and you see a lot of experiments. And this is the field of study that you hear about. Thanks. So this is the field of study that you heard about Pavlov and the dog. When there's present stimulus, then you can present a condition that will get triggered at the present. That's the famous study about the dog. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we'll move on. I mean, that's basically saying that there's a structure that we're born with, and we learn through experiencing a stimulus in our environment, and somehow we respond to it. So it's a little bit more simple as far as the concept. And of course, a lot of people start looking into the process that happened during present stimulus, which sort of led us to this theory about constructivism, which is not necessarily a study of the process, but it has a lot to do with observation, similar to the behaviorist theory. So this study, the study of constructivism, this theory, really talked about the observation and the presence of an individual in a social context and how learning takes place just by being present just being present in public, in society, in school. So you have observations of learning in children when they're playing, just being around other kids, and they copy, they model each other, and they develop a self-concept. And through those experiences, then they sort of construct their identities, their knowledge through, yeah. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So what's interesting about the constructivism is that you have a dynamic process between individual and society. So if, let's say, you are trying to learn language, then you would want to, the best way would be to speak it with other people who speaks the same language. So if you want to learn Italian and you go to Italy, then you would use your learning experience to reinforce your language use. So we'll move on from that. The next one is cognitivism. So another theory of learning. This has a lot to do with more of the processing. So unlike the first two, that sort of the premise was about observation, and you have a stimulus in the presence of information. What cognitivism is about is studying the process of that information. So this is the field of learning that talked a lot about sensory and information and data. So extending from that, you'll learn more about artificial language and computers. So the premise was that our brains develop information and knowledge based on the information presented, and somehow there's a processing that involved, and our emotions, for example, complement our thinking, and our memory. So there's a whole set of different structures that are sort of contained, and each of them has a role. So this theory is very systematic. Those are the three main theories that we're going to be looking at when we talk about health. So behaviorist constructivism, more ecological based on individual and environment, and cognitivism has a lot to do with the process that occurs, and that's where learning takes place. So an example would be motor learning. If you're learning a skill, for example, it has a lot to do with the capacity of the individual. So a lot of process oriented learning. About the next section is how we understand behavior, how we define behavior, and how those two go hand in hand in defining health behavior. So initially, we think that behavior is learned, and so that's sort of the strongest claim right now, that we can teach behavior, we can observe behavior, and learning takes place because of that. What we also know now is that we can teach behavior, and that behavior is individual based. So that's going to be interesting as far as health, learn about health, because we'll learn that health there's no number one recipe for health, and it's all sort of a combination of many things. So I'm going to move through this quickly. Social cognitive theory has a lot to do with the mutual and synergistic actions that happen between the individual and the environment. The trans-theoretical model, stage of change, has a lot to do with intention to determine behavior. So if somebody wants to change their behavior, it has a lot to do with how much they want to change that behavior, whether it has to do with health, or if you want to learn music. Somebody who enjoys it would have a better chance than somebody who's been forced to learn music. So that's what the model's trans-theoretical model is about. The theory of planned behavior has a lot to do with the belief. So somebody who believes that music is therapeutic would have a better chance of acquiring those behaviors that lead towards playing music. So how do we really define behavior? It's a tough question, but at least we know enough that it has a lot to do with a combination of many things. Behavior is observed, a set of actions that we can watch and measure. And we know that we are behaving in a certain way because there's feedback involved. But there are other components, like the process of that behavior, how it takes place, and also how we feel and what we think about when we're behaving in a certain way. So there's a question here about why should we understand and define behavior? We'll keep that in mind. So Goffman is an author who talked about the synthesis of behavior. So it has a lot to do with beliefs, motives, perceptions, cognitive elements, and it's not only the actions. So this is a little bit more comprehensive as far as definition, and it seems to be closer to understanding behavior than just actions. So how it relates to health is that we know that there are it's process oriented, it's goal oriented, based on individual and the interaction between the individual and the environment. So once we understand the components, then there's a better chance to try to target those components for the purpose of changing behavior. So if we were to look back, then we'll see that behavior is not just the action, but also the process, and also changing the process will change the outcome. So moving on to health, this is a concept that is closely tied with behavior. So if you're interested in learning a little bit about health, hopefully this section will supplement those concepts. So health by World Health Organization is about the well-being emerging from conducive interactions between individuals, potentials, life demands, and social and environmental determinants. So again, you'll see that it's a very comprehensive definition that has a lot to do with life components. You know, it's not just it's very abstract, but at least we know that there are driving factors towards living a healthy life, and it has a lot to do with resources and the social aspects of health that contribute to success of being healthy. So what is health? Health promotion is the application of learning, behavior, and health theories. It's a summary of the learning theories we talked about, behavior theories we talked about. So for example, the synergistic and mutualistic actions that take place when an individual is functioning in an environment has a lot to do with health. So that has a lot to do with, let's say, accessibility of healthy food, healthy drinking water, proper support systems. Those are all they all contribute to success of health. Of course, the intention of the individual has a lot to do with how behavior is determined. So if a person is not intending to be healthy, then there's a low chance that they would take on a healthier lifestyle. So it's going to be important to keep intention in the forefront of your goals. You know, for somebody who's working on health behavior. Also, belief system is very, very important. Can I check something real quick? I just want to see how people are doing on the chat. Okay. Let's try to figure out how to not go back. Anybody know how to do this? Okay. Sorry, I need to go back. Okay. 19. I don't know how to go back to 19 without starting over. Is there no audio right now? How's everybody doing? I think we're almost finished. Thanks for putting up with this. Oh. Can you hear me? No. still there. Okay. Thanks for staying here. Okay, we're almost finished. Awesome. We're almost done. Let me give a few examples here, and then I think we only have like 10 slides. Okay. Sorry. I don't know how to go back to the previous slide. This is it. Okay, so taking all the theories that we talked about, how do we create a formula to where it's something that you can take with you, and you know, if you encounter somebody who needs some assistance and they express some interest in about a health behavior that they want to change or they want to alter, hopefully you have a little bit of understanding how these theories interact to serve as sort of like an algorithm, or if you are interested in other health behaviors, so not just exercise, not just you know, eating well, or even not just going to the doctor's appointment. If it has a lot to do, if it has something to do with behavior, this is sort of like a general template that you can use to support somebody. So in this example, I'm about exercise. Let's take a look at how each of these components interact. So with social cognitive theory, what it's saying is reciprocal determinism of individual and environment. So if somebody is going to take on a healthier lifestyle as far as exercising, one important question to ask is what are the barriers and facilitators? So what's holding me back from exercising and what's enabling me to exercise? So this has something to do with the physical environment and accessibility. Do I have access to the gym? Do I have running shoes? Do I have information about exercise? You know, do I have any? Do I have an instructor? Do I have a trainer? So you kind of look at what you have, what's helping you, and what's stopping you. So that's something to keep in mind. So according to the trans-theoretical model, it's about the intention. So if I were to plan to exercise, what's my intention? Is my intention to exercise today, tomorrow, or if somebody comes to you and asks you, you know, how often do you exercise? Then it's the answer to that is the intention to the intent to exercise goes hand in hand with the belief system. So if a person believes that exercise is helpful, then it's a stronger chance that their intention will drive their beliefs, and the beliefs will drive their intention. So all these three interact closely. So below here, I put together the formula, and you know, it's not a mathematical formula. It's more sort of like a visual representation of how these three interact. So taking all these questions and answers, I would realize that probably home is the best place for me to exercise because I don't have a gym membership, or I'm more comfortable to work out at home, or I don't have any time to go elsewhere, so I'll just concentrate on exercising at home. Maybe I'll watch instructional exercise video at home, and that's a lot better than me going out to the gym, you know, when it gets too busy and it doesn't work for my schedule. So my intention would be that I want to accomplish 3 types of exercise every other day to help, let's say, my shoulders or my back to be mobile and flexible. And the belief system here is that the reason why I'm exercising And the reason why I'm going to exercise at home is because it keeps me flexible and free of back pain or knee pain or shoulder pain. So the result here is that I am exercising. So when you understand this statement that I am exercising, then you'll see that participating in exercise is the health behavior, and to see exercise as this underrated, understated concept is sort of an issue that goes with the intention or the belief system. So these two components are very, very important to follow if somebody is interested in exercise, because these components are dynamic, and it's always going to be affected by the environment, individual. But the goal here is to be able to say that I am exercising, and at that point, then you won. Most of you won the battle, and you accomplish a lot just by being able to say that I am exercising. And that's a barrier for a lot of people, is that they can't sit, they sort of talk themselves down. Yeah, as long as you believe that you're exercising, then that's a major landmark of success. If you don't feel like you are successful in saying that statement, then you may want to look into the intention portion and ask yourself these questions: what do I want to accomplish, and what do I why do I need to be healthy? Why do I need to exercise? Just asking those questions will bring forth the intention. At the same time, if you ask yourself, why do I need to exercise? Then you can answer that question. Then you've taken the first step. So as far as the healthy behavior and health promotion, it's not just about exercising, because earlier we learned that the definition of health is a state of well-being. So what state of well-being is not just being physically active. It has a lot to do with how you feel, what you believe in, and to be able to take those beliefs and those feelings and attitudes and values and direct them to an action. And that's what the idea of a healthy behavior is, where you take the process of what you're going through and be able to convert it into observable and overt action. So, for example, it could be gardening. It could be a hobby that brings joy to you and brings meaning, and it's something that you find calming, therapeutic, and it's something that'll give you that state of well-being. Then that could also be a healthy behavior. If somebody expresses that they want to learn more about gardening, and you personally know a little bit about learning and behavior, how could you help them enable how can you promote gardening? So this slide talks about again the same things, what you want to ask yourself, what you want to ask that person, what do you have physically available, what's accessible to you, and also what do you want to accomplish, why do you like gardening, and also how can gardening help you become healthy. So again, you're sort of assessing the physical barriers and facilitators, You're asking about the intention, and also you're asking about why they believe that it's going to be healthy for them. So here's an example down below. My kitchen is the best place for me to garden. It could be an indoor garden because I don't have a backyard, or I don't want to be out in the sun. So instead, I'll just grow uh, indoor tomatoes or scallions or herbs or something. Um, because it's healthier to eat fresh food, and also fresh herbs, delicious. So here's another example. How about proper sleep and or waking up properly? I know I have difficulty in sleeping and waking sometimes. So this is a little bit more complicated behavior. So exercising is simple conceptually, gardening is simple conceptually, but how about something complicated where you have other components such as place, place. Sorry, I'm gonna turn down the brightness on my laptop. It's really hurting my eyes. So yeah, so you have place, you have TV, you have alarm clock. There's other physical components that come into the play, and that would be barriers or facilitators, right? So, how about your intention as far as sleeping early or waking up early? I'm running late for work. I want to wake up early. Or I'm too tired when I wake up in the morning, so I want to sleep early. How about the belief? I believe that it's healthy to sleep and wake early or get adequate sleep. So I want to change this behavior. So what I would do is then I would probably look at how TV. I don't watch TV, but somebody, let's say there's a 11 p.m. show, late night show with Conan O'Brien or something. I know it starts at 11. So then I would probably not watch it. I would try to sleep earlier, because the intention is to wake up early with a lot of energy and not get a headache in the morning. And because I know that sleeping early doesn't give me a headache. So now I'm engaging in healthy behavior. Okay, so sorry, I'm gonna move forward. Key takeaways: learning is variable, and we have different upbringing and therefore styles of learning preferences. Has a lot to do with individual and the environment. Behavior is a process, and not just the observed outcome. Health is a state of well-being and not the end of the line. It's not the finish line. It's not the outcome. Health is an ongoing state. It's a dynamic state, and there's ups and downs. But as long as the belief structure is there, the intention is there, and you identify the barriers and facilitators, then it's a lot easier to manage a healthy behavior and achieve a state of well-being than just being lost and not having a plan. So that's what it's about. It's having a plan. As far as health promotion, I think once you know a little bit about the recipe of health behavior, then you can help somebody and guide them through the process, help them identify barriers, facilitators, help them answer to the question of what's their intention, and also the belief system as far as the behavior, and also knowing these components, you can use that to help others in a larger scale. So not just individual based, maybe community based, or if you have a special project that you're working on, including those formulas and being mindful of those components will help in a more comprehensive way, rather than just targeting one component, because then the reinforcement is not as strong. This is the last section, so we only have about 7 slides left. I do want to talk about the virtual community and why this is important. So let me just go through this. Can I check the chat really quick? Just want to see that you guys are still there. I think we got an A student going on. I think we have a chatterbox over here. Let me just check. Oh, am I the only one here? Are you guys still there? Okay, thanks. All right, we're almost finished. Sorry, I'm really nervous right now. Can't do this, but I just gotta practice. Just gotta change the behavior, change the process. Okay, we're almost finished. I froze a lot. So virtual community is a concept about taking society and integrating it with technology. It's something that's inevitable, and it's part of society. It's a natural course to use tools available to us. So I don't think it's controversial, but rather it's something to understand, to acknowledge, and to learn about. There's a few things a few concepts in virtual community that goes hand in hand with health and health promotion. There's a lot of learning process that takes place in a virtual content rather than direct observation. So it's a really interesting phenomenon, and we're learning more about it, learning a lot of good things about it. So I'm sure you know of how they have iPads in school, and especially now when school is on pause, and a lot of children, a lot of adults at work are using virtual content. And I think the question is, how different is it from just regular learning? With in society. I mean, right now I'm having difficulty distinguishing the two between classroom setting and virtual classroom, because there is very little difference. Some of the differences has a lot to do with the individual. So things that they may think or feel about is different than in person than in a virtual classroom. So, for example, personalities tend to be a little bit different in the virtual classroom versus the real classroom. That has a lot to do with anxiety, and also the medium of delivery. So chat versus video versus audio versus, let's say, public presentation is going to be a lot different. So I think ultimately it's advantageous as far as learning is concerned, because then you have a lot of exposure to different medium, and if the theory of learning is correct, then behavior should take place. So it's something that may help different generations, whether children, adult, or older people. learning takes place, and that's kind of the theme of as far as research and virtual community. So how do we define community? Again, there's no singular definition. All we know is it's intersecting components of demographics, ethnicity, age, education, economic, there's different beliefs, attitudes. So it all encompasses culture. And I think if we were to define a community, it's closer to a combination of many things, and also it's a mutualistic, synergistic, dynamic process of culture, whether it's younger culture, older culture, or culture in terms of music, culture in terms of art. So, but we do have a definition here in terms of community support and virtual community. So McQueen defined community as a group of people with diverse characteristics who are linked by social ties. So there's connection. So definitely something to consider when we're thinking about virtual community. Is now the connection has changed. It's not a person-to-person, peer-to-peer connection, but now we're talking about medium of through the internet. So the emotions that, as far as in this case, video, audio, is going to be different than, let's say, you and I are talking in person. So how does health behavior tie into virtual community? So virtual community and health sort of emerge from a biomedical and communication field, which is really interesting. So they're highly utilized in research for virtual communities and also used in classes. So the opportunity is endless, and I think this presentation for me is sort of a testament to that, because I am in the health field and I'm learning about the medium as far as creating content. So this learning process is really interesting. So applying those concepts to the community, in theory, we can take those concepts and apply them in creating content for the community. So the scale is larger rather than individual support. So I mean, the options are there, and it opens up opportunities. So in terms of health information, again, you scale delivery of content. If, let's say, you're a coach or you're a wellness instructor, you're a yoga instructor, or you're teaching about gardening or eating healthy, virtual community really helps out. So there is this concept of digital divide. And this concept has a lot to do with differences of comfort level in using technology. So some older generation may not be as familiar, whereas younger generation may find it easy. So the more exposure you have to technology, you decrease the digital divide. So we kind of know that through observation. For example, my parents, they're always on their phones now, whereas when we were younger, they're sort of restrictive with us using cell phones. So that's an example of that. And also, community is more interconnected than we think. It's obvious that we are highly engaged in community activities, whether it's grocery shopping, going to the gas station, working out, going to school, things like that. But it's even more connected than that, to the point where if one component of the system is reduced, it'll affect, you'll have a trickle effect. So going back to healthy behavior, if there's no accessible gyms, there's no accessible park, then the healthy behavior is less, it's reduced. The chances of it is reduced, and of course, there's sort of adaptive nature that will find a way, because we have the intention, we have the belief system that healthy is good. So now is the time where you see a lot of people exercising at home, and lots of informative instructional videos about exercise. So this is an example of that, and I think that the takeaway from that is that you have, as long as you have a strong intention and belief, then it sort of compensates for the other components, whether it's a lack of accessibility or lack of, there's barriers and facilitators. So if you strengthen intention, you strengthen belief, then you increase the chance of facilitating and decrease the barriers. Okay, we're almost finished. One of the concepts from building a virtual community is this concept of community-based participatory research. The name is a little bit more technical than what it is. What it really does is that basically you just link up with your community organization. So it's very, very easy to do. So how I linked up with Long Beach Time Exchange is through Erica. So I emailed the organizer, coordinator, and she set me up and helped me out. And so the same way can be done if, let's say, a group of us would want to support the community. So here's a link of a call to action letter by Long Beach Community Director, and what they did is they assessed sort of the needs of the city and where they lack community support, and they summarize in these 3 points here. So if you want to take a look at this, let's say you're interested in creating content as far as being an instructor for something, you're facilitating a healthy behavior in some way, whether it's gardening, yoga, exercise. This is sort of their, these are their goals here. So a healthy community nurtures individuals to thrive, healthy and collaboration. And this was taken from the Long Beach Health and Human Services. So again, they broke down 3 major goals. So if you're interested in community support, these are sort of the 3 components that they're working on and their goals. And these are the resources. So I have them linked here, and then you may be interested in checking out these links. This assesses your learning preference, learning style. This looks into components to help you with transformation as a leader. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in life values inventory, this is a set of questions that asks you what's valuable to you. Readiness to change. I think Ian had questions earlier about readiness to change. Here's the link and see what stage you are. If you want to assess your readiness to change. This is HyperDocs. This is a content creator, more towards lectures and presentation. This is a website for Long Beach Department of Health and Human Services, and this is Long Beach facts, fun facts about Long Beach. There's a website for that. Oh yeah, so I want to give shout outs to Erica, Ian. I'm gonna give shout outs to everybody here in the chat. I thought I saw Andrew, Hassan, have I mentioned? I guess. Okay. But shout out to you guys, shout out to Martha, and you guys are awesome for participating with me. is a post quiz if you're interested. There's post assessment if you would. I think the most important for me, and I will forever be in debt, is if you help me with a pre-assessment. So thanks so much. I hope this was informative lecture for everybody. That summarizes our presentation. Okay. You want the PowerPoint? Sure. Let me, I think it's this one here. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you the PowerPoint. I just got to, I have to upload it, so if you want to wait, then I can do that. All right. Thanks so much. And yeah, I have the answers if you want the answers. I mean, they're pretty simple. You know what? Let me take the post assessment. I think I can take it here. Okay, it works. Yeah, take it if you can. But thanks to everybody. I hope you have a great weekend, and stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for the support. Thanks for the community support. I wouldn't have done this without you guys.